there's really only a couple reasons why you would want to get a Sequoia really over anything else that's going to be around the $2,000 to $5,000 range. Reason one, it's the cheapest one out of really any of the Toyota bunch. It's cheaper than Tundra, it's definitely cheaper than the 4Runner, and it's significantly cheaper than the Tacoma. It is probably one of the most affordable overlanding vehicles you can have. If you manage to find a four-wheel drive one, you can definitely find them for less than $5,000. Of course, it probably will need a little bit of work, as they have been, Sequoias are just used up very, very brutally. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be an absolute piece of shit to you. So that's one thing that I can say, and that's exactly what I purchased with this truck. I bought this thing for about $4,000, and I will tell you, I will give you a list of the many things that is giving me problems and the things that I've had to fix and how it's been with me throughout the entire day and daytime. So if you're really cross-shopping between an old Tahoe or an old Expedition to even maybe some of the Toyota products, maybe you're just considering one, that's a Sequoia, I would say it's a good product. So let's get to it and let me show you everything that you get around a Sequoia. For the 10 viewers that actually check out my videos, this is not going to be a weird documentary where I'm talking about a little bit of the history of the car. I'm not doing that today. This is the 1 year summary of my Toyota Sequoia. I have owned this truck for a little over a year. I have put over 25,000 miles in this thing, and there have been things that I've had to fix. There have been things that I've broken, and there have been things that I can really say that have been very well to me. One thing that I can say is that this truck has never broken down on me, and it's never overheated. It's never had any major issues. Really, it's just needed maintenance and some love, and it has been treating me very well. So this is the year-long summary review of my 2003 Toyota Sequoia. Let's get to it. Alright, so now we're sitting in my Toyota Sequoia. I'm going to just go very brief with this interior really quick, and let's get started with it. So, mind you, remember this is 2003, so obviously there's going to be things in here that feel very dated. Obviously, such as you don't have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you don't have all the non-modern amenity features. I don't even have dual zone climate control in here. But what I do have is a lot of utility. When it comes to storage inside of a 2003 or first gen Sequoia in general, this thing is really, really, really practical. For one, I do have an actual dual set of cup holders in here. In fact, really, in the very front seats, I can fit about 4 cups in here. I have one that pops out right outside of the dash. I also do have a little cigarette lighter that I can push on and everything like that. Never used that in my life. And I also do have 2 massive cup holders right here in the center, which could fit a giant bottle, by the way. Right here up in the front, obviously, I still do have the original JBL double din stereo system. It works fine. It's old. That's all I'm going to say on that. But you could, of course, put a modern double din screen in here, and you can have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's up to you if you really want to do that. Obviously, and then right on the bottom, you're going to have your normal AC controls, traction control off. And then right onto the left, you're also going to have your window switch, right? That you're capable of bringing your window switch down. Window switch. Your rear window down. And then right on top, you're also going to have the 5 sunglass holders. Now, due to the fact of this being an SR5 trim, this is not going to be the fully loaded limited trim. So what the limited does come with, it does come with a sunroof, does come with power folding mirrors, which I did not know until I started researching about this truck. I should have bought it limited. And also it does come with like a couple of extra little amenities to make it look nicer inside of the Sequoia, such as like a little screen and everything like that. But that's pretty much all the rest that the limited does come with. And also keep in mind of one thing. I'm going to go into a little bit more details with this, but if you want to get a refreshed engine and maybe a 5-speed transmission, you will have to go for a 2005 after Sequoia. So just be mind of that. When you're looking and shopping for one of these things, you're gonna have to see which one you particularly want. I will go more into detail once I get into the powertrain portion. However, pretty much that's really all you get in the back seat, or I'm sorry, in the front seat of your Toyota Sequoia. It's very basic in here, but really it's very practical. And when it comes to the visibility around here, I'm going to mention it a little bit more later. It's really, really good. So that's all I wanted to really point out. You're going to just have very basic features in here, but it's extremely spacious. It's extremely comfortable. It's very simple and very intuitive to use. And you have a lot of storage, which I really do like how they sorted out this interior. Even though it looks very basic and it looks boring for some people, this is a really, really well set up interior. So let's get to the back seats, and we're going to just talk about the space that you get in the back, as well as the third row set of seats. Right, so now in the second row seats of the Sequoia, I do have a lot of space. I actually do have a couple inches of about like an inch behind myself, which is pretty much enough for me because, I mean, I don't need like extensive length if I can fit back here. And generally this area is very comfortable. Obviously these seats were reupholstered, not the upper part, but the bottom part for the second row, it was reupholstered, and it feels really nice. The front seats, they were obviously reupholstered, so that's why the interior looks a lot nicer. Anyways, coming down to it, you really have basic features in here. Obviously you do have your rear AC vents over here with a bottle that anyways, you do have rear AC vents back here, which obviously it works with the AC vents that you have up here on the ceiling, which they do work. It feels nice. It does make the interior a little bit more cool. You also do have cup holders there, which obviously you see a empty bottle and a cologne that's sitting there. And also you do have a little tiny storage compartment here that would seem to be like an ashtray, but I don't think you can take that out. So it's definitely not an ashtray. It's just like, I guess, a little tiny storage piece that you can store whatever you want in there, I guess. You also do have, of course, your normal window switch and everything. You also do have a very minuscule storage pocket that is adequate for just small things or whatever, maybe tie straps. You also do have pockets, door pockets here that obviously are used, that are being used currently. Pretty much after that, all you get back here is a center armrest. You don't get cup holders that are built into the armrest, so I guess that's a bummer for some people. In the end of the day, it's really not that deep. And you pretty much get a decent view around the glass. I didn't mention this when I was in the driver's seat, but this truck doesn't really have that many blind spots. The only blind spots that you may get is by the quarter panels around in the back corners, just due to the fact that the pillars are a little bit thicker. And that's pretty much the only area that you get a little bit of blind spots. But up front, you really don't get any blind spots at all whatsoever. And it's a very open space. You don't feel claustrophobic at all in here. This thing feels massive, if be. So, and you also do get a really, really, really nice view of the 5 sunglass holders that, you can fit 5 sunglasses holders, or 5 sunglasses, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was saying in my vocabulary. But anyways, let me jump in the third row and I'll show you the trunk, and we're going to also talk about the engine. And to talk about the third row for just a split second, yes, a full-grown adult could technically fit back there. Of course, it's not going to be the most comfortable spot, but it's there. And you do also have some significant storage compartments inside the third row. You do have 2 cup holders in each side, storage compartment on top, and then 1 in the bottom. And to talk about the trunk for just a little bit, let's begin. So at first, with all the seats up, including the third row, you're just only going to have 27 cubic feet of space. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you decide to take out all the seats, or at least fold the second row seats out and remove the third row, you have a cavernous 128 cubic feet of space. You also do have some extra storage compartments in the inside of the trunk, and fun fact, this is in fact bigger than the new Sequoia. And talking about motors, you only really got one option for the Sequoia, and that was the overly engineered 4.7 liter naturally aspirated V8. Now, there are 2 different versions of this engine that I will say. From between 2000 to 2004, you got non-variable valve timing, and between 2005 to 2007, you got variable valve timing. This made a difference by 30 more horsepower, 2 more pound-feet of torque, and a 5-speed automatic. So if you do want a more powerful and efficient motor, technically, you would have to go for a newer Sequoia. If you really don't care about that, you could just, of course, go for any year, make, and model of the Toyota Sequoia, and you'll be perfectly fine with that. They're still good regardless. In the 2003 Sequoia. Now, I'm going to try to explain as much as I can in a matter of a few minutes. I'm not trying to make this into a extremely long, extensive video about me talking about everything. So let's get straight to the point. When you're buying a Sequoia, there's going to be things that you have to be very wary of. Obviously, these trucks are known to leak oil and transmission fluid, which I found out the hard way. Obviously, you got to just see how this truck was maintained with, you know, the timing belts, since this engine is a timing belt driven vehicle. Be wary about that. Be wary about the condition of the 4-speed automatics or 5-speed automatics if you were to get a later model year. And just be also extremely wary about rust. These things are known to rust in the frame area. That's also including with the 4Runners and Tundras and Tacomas, at least in this same era, they love to rust. So just be very aware when you're looking for one of these things. Just check the conditions around the vehicle. Now, in terms of how your 4.7 liter V8 is going to be, I'll just do an acceleration. This thing is not a powerhouse by any means at all whatsoever. 235 horsepower is not going to get you anywhere. In fact, that's almost the same power as a modern day Volkswagen GLI makes. Okay, so this is not going to be any powerhouse at all whatsoever, and it doesn't help that it's ran by a 4-speed automatic, so it's going to feel even more ancient. But one thing I will say is this engine can take on a heavy beating. Okay, I have not had a single issue with this motor at all whatsoever, except for the oil leaks that it's had. It had an oil leak on the lower oil pan, and then also a massive transmission leak on the transmission pan. So when I first got this truck, it had bad tires, it had bad lower ball joints, it also had the leaks, so it would slip as well as not really run the best, and it was really bad in gas when I first got it. So I had to do quite a bit of fixing. So let's put it into this perspective. This is kind of more so on me, but I bought this truck for $4,000, and then after that I had to put about $3,000 worth of work in here in order for this truck to run how it is today. And there's still issues with the truck, of course, but it's not like there are issues that it's going to break me down in the middle of the road. It's things that I can tolerate during the day, I can just deal with, and it's not going to really affect the driving experience that I'm going to get with this truck, which all I really need it for is to take me to point A to point B rather comfortably, and this thing is serving me extremely well. So that's something that you're just going to have to be wary of, that you're just going to be, you know, looking around for. Check the lower ball joints, see if it's been replaced, see if the frame has been replaced from the recall Toyota's had, and also just check on a few other things if there's any massive oil leaks. The thing for me that I screwed up on myself was I did not really pay attention to see how deep that oil leak was, and I just generally thought it was a regular oil leak, and that was not including the transmission leak. But once I saw that it was starting to slip on me and everything like that, and the mechanic did find that there was transmission fluid around, yeah. And also when I had no transmission fluid either, that was a bad issue. So yeah, that was something that I had to be very cautious of. So obviously after I got all that stuff done, this truck was driving a lot better. And now just as it sits, I'm gonna be straight. It's really comfortable to ride. I do like this a little bit more than some of the other competitors that are around this area. I like it so much more than the Expedition. The only vehicles that I would say I would be considering more so of getting is maybe like the Tahoes or the Suburbans in this era. Before I was actually looking for this truck, I was actually trying to get an Avalanche, but the problem is I couldn't find any Avalanches that were in decent shape and not even close running like this thing was when I first got it. I thought this thing was running amazing when I first got it, and I ended up finding out that I can make it run even better than how I first got it. And generally speaking, it's really hard for me to find an old Chevy or OBS Chevy that can run extremely good in the conditions, even with people beating them up. Not to say that they're not reliable or they're just a total piece of garbage or anything like that. They're great trucks. However, it's harder to find them in easier shape to keep up running and make it easier to run. I guess if that makes sense. They're so ultra reliable, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and talk smack about them. Those engines can run forever. The 4L60Es, they like to go out after 250,000 miles, but they're cheap transmissions. So it's not really that hard to really work on it. But when it comes to the Sequoia, they were really made to run. And the smoothness of this engine was what really got me into buying a Sequoia. This thing idles like it's not even on. I was blown away by how this thing idles and how smooth it is comparing to any other V8 of this era. It is kind of mind-boggling to see how smooth this truck is. And that's why I've fallen in love with this truck. Yes, don't get me wrong. I do have my little gripes about it here and there. It's not efficient in gas at all, but when you're buying something like this, that's to be expected. I average around 15 miles a gallon every single trip. But now, since since I do drive a lot more often and I do drive almost 100 miles a day at this point, sometimes the gas does get to you, you know, and that's the only thing that you have to be wary of. If you're able to afford the gas, by all means, this truck is a really good option for you. If you're also, you know, not having an issue of just really dealing with some of the issues that you may find from a Sequoia, at least in the first generation, by all means, do it. It's honestly really worth it. Just make sure that the truck was at least taken care of and it was at least decently maintained. When I got this truck, it was maintained well, but it was at a point where there was going to be some extensive maintenance that needed to get done in order for the vehicle to keep running. I ran into that problem, and now I don't regret it because this thing has never given me a problem. It's never stranded me in the middle of the road. It's never broken down on me. The only issues that I've ran into that I do need to fix eventually, because it is about to go out, is the battery. But that's just, I haven't done it because I was lazy and I really don't want to spend $300 on a new battery right now. But that's something I do need to get done. And to be honest with you, this truck really all around has humbled the hell out of me in terms of the lessons that I've learned, in terms of the things that I've done, and with filming and everything like that I've started to do now. This truck has taken me everywhere that I needed to go. And I cannot be more than thankful for how good this thing has treated me. And of course, I had to take care of it at the same time, but this truck has served and done really well for me. And I can't be more than thankful for this truck to be excellent for me. So that's all I'm going to really say. I'm not going to really go extensive with how this truck is, as I've already went pretty extensive with this vehicle. So if you are looking for a first generation Sequoia, or you're cross shopping and you're in debates about one of these things, I will say it's worth it. Just be wary and just check the conditions of the vehicle all around, like any normal car. But these things are known to be extremely ultra reliable. You can beat the hell out of these things and it will not care at all whatsoever. So we're gonna get to closing. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I will catch you guys next week with a new video. See you guys. So if you made it this far, you'll notice that I have not mentioned the word reliable once throughout this entire video. And it's simply because of one reason. You already know these trucks are reliable. It's an iron block V8, has a 4-speed automatic, it's a Toyota. However, in the end of the day, this truck is over 20 years old and you're gonna run into problems regardless of whether you want to accept it or not. It's just something that you have to be aware of. That doesn't mean the truck is bad. I genuinely love my truck and I would recommend it to somebody. I will catch you guys next week. Until next time.